Welcome to the Pocket. My name is Scooter, here to give you my Week 5 reaction to the Giants' win in Seattle, 29-20. And this game started off rough. The Giants have a long drive. They get all the way down to the 1 yard line, and Eric Gray punches it up the middle, and you think we're going to score. And what's that? A Seattle defender? He's got the ball somehow, and he's running. All the Giants players were looking at the line judge, waiting for the call, and it's a Seattle touchdown. That's all right. Let's look at the review. I'm sure he scored. Wasn't really a good angle to see. So it stood a Seattle touchdown, a 14-point flip. This drives me crazy. You think in these situations, oh, this is just another game we're going to lose, another massive mistake. But no. Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. The Giants played great for the entire rest of the game on both sides of the ball. Offense, defense, special teams, and secure the win with a blocked field goal by Isaiah Simmons, picked up and returned for a touchdown by Bryce Ford Wheaton on what would have been a game-tying field goal, making it a 2-possession lead. The Giants take a knee on the extra point, and the Seahawks have not enough time to score twice. So let's talk about the team performances, and then we'll get into the individual player performances and how we won this game. So, as I stated, this game started off rough. The Giants had a nice long drive, though, on offense, and it was a sign of things to come. The Giants dominated time of possession in this game. The Giants were able to run the ball effectively, and the Giants were able to not only pass the ball short and intermediately, but we hit 2 critical deep passes to Darius Slayton. And I haven't even mentioned yet how we didn't have Malik Nabers. Darius Slayton was our number 1 wide receiver today. He went 8 for 122 and a touchdown, and a big part of that was the 2 big catches he had on the same drive. First one was a fade down the sideline, and Daniel Jones heaved it for a 41-yard completion that Slayton caught and stayed in bounds. And then, a few plays later, a nice deep crossing route to Slayton. The safety, he paid attention to, I believe it was Wandale on a clear-out route, and Slayton turned on the burners. Daniel Jones put it out there. Slayton was able to get under it, catch and run basically right into the end zone for a touchdown. So you love to see Daniel Jones finally hitting on these deep balls, and not only that, this offensive line blocking long enough to allow him time to throw. And as I stated before, we were able to run the ball really well in the Seattle defense. This is something I was mentioning in the preview video. They have a couple injuries on this defensive line. Our offensive line has been playing pretty well, so we needed to expose them. Even though we didn't have Devin Singletary, it didn't matter. Outside of the Eric Gray fumble on the 1 yard line, an absolutely atrocious outcome to that play, the Giants were able to use the running backs very effectively. Eric Gray in the screen game. Tyrone Tracy was explosive. Multiple 10-yard runs. And like I said, thanks to the offensive line's improved run blocking this week, he had holes to punch through, to run hard, to run decisively, and he was a big part of the Giants' win. Now, moving on to summing up the defense, the pass rush was excellent today. The Giants had 7 sacks, 3 of which coming from Dexter Lawrence. The Giants now lead the NFL in sacks. Never thought I would say that in the coming future going into this season. But you know what? The money spent on this defensive line, it might not all be Brian Burns, but Dexter Lawrence is definitely worth every penny because with him, Burns, Kayvon, the blitzes we're sending, even DJ Davidson, I think he got 1 sack, maybe it was 2 sacks. We'll talk more about individual player performances later. But credit to DJ Davidson, the backup defensive tackle. Where is he right here on the stat sheet? There he is. 2 sacks for DJ Davidson. And also, Nacho had another half a sack. So the whole defensive line, everybody is getting involved, and you love to see that. And now we had a big challenge this week with a dangerous wide receiver trio. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and JSN in the slot. Geno Smith had been playing really, really well so far. We saw them put up a lot of points against the Detroit Lions, even though they may have been, playing catch up for most of the game. We were able to stop them better. They were losing for a good majority of this game as well. And I believe they only had 17 plays in the first half of this football game. Part of that was the time of possession, and part of that was the defense doing their job. So you love to see that. So going towards the end of the game, the offense ended up kicking some field goals. By the time the fourth quarter hit, the score was 20-13. The Giants kicked a field goal. I'm pretty sure it was off of a Seattle failed fourth down conversion where Brian Burns got a sack. And then we kicked a field goal, sent it back to them, and then things started to get a little shaky. DK Metcalf gets hit down the field, and a nice hole shot, good pass by Geno Smith. They march down the field, and Geno Smith finds JSN when they're in the red zone, right over Bobby O'Carroll, well, more to the left of him. JSN looked like he was running sort of a cross down the back end of the end zone, and then he stopped in the hole in the zone coverage. Bobby O'Carroll kept going. Geno Smith saw the hole, and he hit him for a touchdown. It happens. At this point, I was thinking in the game, all things considered, we really only allowed 13 points to this Seattle offense. And whether you want to say, oh, they never had the ball, or it's their offensive line, we were holding them, right? If it wasn't for that 100-yard return on what was a 14-point flip, then they would only have um, 6 points by the time the fourth quarter had started. So the defense was playing awesome. And you know the story. We failed to convert on third down on what looked like a dangerous throw by Daniel Jones, but he had played really, really well for the entire game leading up to that point. And then we punt the ball, and they start marching down the field. A highlight play by JSN. Geno Smith scrambles and breaks the pocket, but JSN starts acting like Geno threw him the ball. He's putting his hands up, pointing his finger in the air, and you got two Giants defensive backs chasing him as Geno Smith takes off for what looked like 30 or 40 yards. And you're thinking, oh no, the Giants are going to blow this game right here. This is how that one mistake in the beginning comes back to bite us. Seattle can't punch it in for a touchdown. They can't get into the red zone, I believe. They line up for a field goal, and Isaiah Simmons sitting in the A gap just to the right of the long snapper hurdles over without touching the center and the guard, gets his hands in the air and blocks it. And Bryce Ford Wheaton is right there to pick it up and return it for a touchdown. I can't tell you how excited I was when that happened. For us Giants fans, things like that just don't happen. They don't happen for us. We don't win games. Like, that's something that's supposed to happen to us. For that to happen for us, that's huge. Not just to win the game, but moving forward, building confidence for the team. This is something you absolutely love to see. And this is how you win football games, right? You can't just play conservatively and hope that you don't screw up. Mistakes are going to happen. You have to make them mess up too or expose some sort of weakness. So you love to see that. Giants end up winning the football game 29-20. As I stated, there were many excellent performances in this game. But first off, I want to talk about Daniel Jones and how well he's been playing recently. He was getting a lot of hate for missing Darius Slayton deep against the Cowboys. Two throws that he missed, him and Slayton weren't on the same page for. Well, apparently that extra practice he got without Malik Nabers, Darius Slayton, was able to get on the same page as Daniel Jones. And as I stated, get two really long deep balls, one fade route and one deep crosser. The deep crosser converting for a touchdown. That entire drive was basically Daniel Jones and Darius Slayton connecting on those deep balls. So 8 for 122 for Slayton and a touchdown. He did drop a few passes, and so did Wandale, but overall, those two as the wide receiver 1 and 2 were playing very, very reliably for Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones played one of the best games I've ever seen him play. Try to find me a really bad mistake outside of I swear, when people are saying, oh, he sacked himself, I'm telling you, watch the replay. I'm going to take a really extra good close look at it, but I'm telling you, Andrew Thomas's heel clicked his foot and he fell. Call me an apologist, whatever. That's just what I saw. But outside of that, and the third down in the fourth quarter, where he was trying to throw it on a 5-yard inbreaker to Slayton, looked like it hit Witherspoon like right in the chest, but couldn't come down with a pick. Other than that, I think Daniel Jones played great. And anyone who's hating on him needs to relax. This dude is fine. He is developing. We have a good team around him. and he's not screwing up. And the reason we've lost games so far, I would not say is because of him. So anyone who's hating on him, you need to relax. All the media narratives, they're toxic, intoxicating. Everyone loves regurgitating these negative media narratives. I'm telling you, he's not that bad. He's playing pretty well so far. He's won a playoff game, and it was because there was a competent team around him. Up next, I already talked about Darius Slayton. Let's talk about Tyrone Tracy, the rookie running back, fifth round pick, converted wide receiver. He looked explosive today. And it wasn't just him, obviously. The offensive line did a great job. I'll get into them. But Eric Gray was good in the receiving game. The fumble, Singletary had fumble problems too. If you ask me, it looked like he crossed the plane. But Gray looked good. He looked explosive, converted like a 3rd and 18 on a screenplay. But Tracy, between the tackles, these outside zone plays, there was sort of like a formation where it was under center, but Tracy was offset to the right on an important 3rd down. Daniel Jones spins around, hands it off to Tracy, and he takes it up. It was blocked well, cuts it up the field for what looked like a 15 or 20-yard gain. There were multiple runs like that. He was running hard. He wasn't easy to bring down, but he was decisive. He wasn't hesitating or anything like that. From a rookie, you love to see that. Can't wait to see more Tyrone Tracy moving forward. Even when Motor comes back, I want to see Tracy getting reps. He looks explosive. So that is almost it for the offense. The offensive line, man, I brought it up early on in the season when Malik Nabers was going off. Let's not forget about this offensive line. This has been an issue that has plagued the Giants for years. But finally, we have a competent offensive line, and you can see the results. I'll look into it more in the end, but the Giants have a competent and respectable offense. So you love to see it. Moving on to the defense. Some important things I want to highlight outside of the 7 sacks, which I will cover, 3 from Dexter Lawrence, 2 from DJ Davidson, that's 5 from the interior, 1 from Brian Burns, that was on a 4th down. He sniffed it out and didn't fall for a play fake, didn't hesitate, went straight for Gino. Love to see that. Kayvon Thibodeau had a half a sack, and Nacho had a half a sack. Pretty much everyone getting involved. Aziz Ojolari had a tackle, so that's another edge rusher who was, sort of getting in there into the mix. Tyler Nubin leads the league leads the Giants in tackles in this game, and also had a fumble recovery, a fumble that was punched out of DK Metcalf's hands by Tae Banks, another guy who's been getting a lot of hate, but we played a lot more zone today. And in this zone coverage, Banks was able to focus on covering his zone and not let DK Metcalf beat him in that. And his athleticism was enough to hold DK Metcalf to under like 60 yards or something like that and force that fumble. And these other wide receivers, Tyler Lockett and JSN, we were able to cover them because we had Andrew Phillips back. I don't believe what's his face? Adore. No, Adore was in this game. So we did have our 3 corners to match up with their 3 wide receivers. And it looks like that was actually a hard counter to what the Seahawks had been doing. We had a great pass rush, good enough corners, right? If they don't have time to throw, their wide receivers don't have time to get open. So this defense did an excellent job today. As I stated before, they would only had 6 points by the time the fourth quarter rolled around if it wasn't for that absolutely ridiculous touchdown they got in the first quarter off of the Giants' offense. So defense played great, offense played great, and then I covered it multiple times already. The special teams play, Isaiah Simmons blocking that kick, something the Giants are not usually known for. We've lost the game because we haven't had a kicker. We've lost the game because we've kicked too many field goals. But in this game, the special teams win us the game. You'll love to see it. This is a complete team win. This is how you win football games. Now, this week is over. Let's look at what the Giants have done so far in the league. I stated before, we lead the NFL in sacks with 22. Now, a lot of that's consolidated, but we are still getting sacks in other games. I would like to see it a little bit more spread out, maybe a little less matchup dependent, but not going to complain. First down percentage, the Giants appear to be in the top third of the NFL. It doesn't have the ranking number in it, but I can count it. 11th. We are 11th in first down percentage allowed on defense. So the defense is looking pretty solid. We're not allowing too many first downs, and big part of that is because we are getting sacks. And the defense did a great job against a great offense this week. So I'd love to see how this young team on both sides, I want to emphasize that, We're using a lot of rookies. We're using a lot of the players that Joe Shane has drafted. We got rid of some veterans over the past 2 years. This is a young team and it's developing. We got a new defensive coordinator. Things are looking really good for this defense. Moving on to the offense, it's not as good as the defense, but it is quite respectable. Sacks allowed. The Giants are, we've allowed 12 sacks. So it looks like we are middle of the pack, which is all you really need, right? You're not going to expect the offensive line to take such a huge leap from year one to year two. And then if we look at just general scoring, the Giants total touchdowns have 9 total touchdowns. Obviously, some of our poorer games, such as the Vikings or the Cowboys game where we didn't score any touchdowns, is sort of dragging that down. But that is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lowest in total touchdowns, but we are moving the ball, right? We are getting down the field, passing. Daniel Jones isn't making too many mistakes, and we are definitely controlling the clock. I wonder if there is a time of possession stat, but I can't find it right now. Either way, you can tell from just the eye test that the Giants offense is competent, it's effective, the run game is working. The Seattle defense has a defensive head coach. He's a rookie head coach, but Mike McDonald led the best defense in the NFL last year. Now, he's working with an entirely new unit now, but I think credit is due to this Giants offense for staying resilient after that start and continuing to go on and put up some points after a rough start to this game. So if we proceed to look on now, as I said, this week is over, right? We can be happy and we can celebrate, but you can't get caught up on one game and put all your eggs in one basket. That way, if something goes wrong the next week, you need to be ready to respond once again to the adversity. The Giants are playing on prime time next week at home. That's 2 negatives for the Giants. We have not played well on prime time. I don't think Daniel Jones has ever won a primetime game. I don't think. And we've played pretty poorly at home, not just this year, but the past couple years. And we got the Bengals, and the Bengals are coming off a really tough loss. They are 1-4 now. This is a team that even I was saying should have Super Bowl aspirations this year. Now, do they look that good right now? Absolutely not. They don't look like that right now. But I am still going to. You still see the ceiling, right? They played really, really close against the Ravens, one of the best teams in the NFL. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow seem to be dialed back in, but they're still a vulnerable team. This defense of theirs is really, really bad. You're going to hope that we can pull out a win there, but I'm not going to bet on it. Vegas is starting to recognize the Giants were only 3.5-point underdogs. Up next, after that, we have the Eagles. Similar situation, right? For them, it's the coaching that hasn't been on point. The Bengals, it's the defense. The Eagles, it's the coaching that hasn't looked too good, right? So maybe if Brian Daboll can coach his best game, we can exceed expectations and defeat the Eagles, although that game is also at home. Then we go to Pittsburgh, a game I think we can win. And then we have the Commanders at home, revenge game. We should have won last time. We're coming for you this time. And we're going to have a kicker this time. And then we got the Panthers and the Bucks. So I think the only 2 games that, or maybe 3 games that you sort of confidently look at and say, we can win those is the Steelers, the Panthers, and, the Commanders, although they look better and better every week. You're sort of looking at what looks like probably 3 losses to the Bengals, Eagles, and Buccaneers. But the Giants are this sort of oscillating team where one week they're great, and then, well, and by great, I mean just good enough to win. And then the next week they look really, really bad. But we really haven't had a stinker since that Vikings game, and they look like the best team in the NFL right now. So I'm pretty high on the Giants actually moving forward. I predicted 7 and 10 wins. Wasn't looking so hot after the first 2 weeks, but it's looking a lot better now. And to be honest, I think 8 wins, 9 wins, it's in question. I'm not talking about playoffs or anything, but just win total. I think if we can continue to build this momentum, we're a young team. We have a new defensive coordinator. All these new young players, we're still figuring out who they are, what they're great at. And Brian Daboll seems to be, as I predicted early on in the season, figuring out how to win games with this team. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you aren't already. It supports the channel. Hit the notification bell so you're notified when I release a new video. including that Bengals preview I'm going to be coming out with later this week. Is this Giants win really indicative of what we're going to see moving forward, or did the Giants just have an extra 4 days to prepare, right? With the Seahawks playing on Monday and the Giants playing on Thursday. Your guess is as good as mine, but for me, I'm going to be positive and let's roll with it. The Giants just won a great football game against a great team that should be in the playoffs, and I am pumped. Let's go, Giants fans. I'll see you later this week. Peace out.